I'm Jess Larsen. On this episode, I get to interview my friend, Dave Fullmer from FBC Roofing. We're on location. We're at his offices this time. Dave, for people who don't know FBC, you guys have achieved a lot. I mean, it's a little over, 10 times growth rate for, from, I want to say 2019 to today, $34 million last year. That's quite a tear, and the growth rate keeps continuing. There's not a lot of people that think like, okay, awesome, high growth company, roofing. That's not like necessarily the first one that comes to mind. What's different about you guys? How have you 10 times the company in just a handful of years?
Well, you are right about roofers. We're kind of savages. We're on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to exciting jobs that people want to get into. And the roofing space is traditionally, it is a group of nomads and animals. But I would say one of that is our company rhythm and our cadence and just our core values and belief in the marketplace and the communication with the human experience. And we always say we're not just a roofing company, we're a human development company. We just have a roofing company as our vehicle.
Yeah. Well, in all our hanging out, I don't think I've ever told you that my first job as a newlywed was a roofer. Before moving down to Huntington Beach to be a surfer, which again, following your footsteps. I mean, I know part of it is the magnetism of like what it's like to hang out with you. I mean, it was so fun when you took my family shark diving in Hawaii and we went dirt biking in the mountains of Hawaii and all this kind of stuff. And you guys, like, just being around your offices and meeting your team, like, it is like a lot of people talk about a business being a family. And I think it's more aspirational. Like they hope it's like that, where there is like, it's exciting. Like no wonder people like want to stay.
Yeah. I mean, I like to enjoy where I work and where I live and the things that I do. And so it's so hard not for your personal life to bleed a little bit into your business life. And our family life has always been one that's pretty extreme. And we love all those different aspects of the human experience and to really just live life to the fullest. And so we want to do that in our company culture, which is where we created the B7 culture cadence, this rhythm inside of our company, which is massive. And I'm just super excited about it. It's funny when I came to my brother with this whole B7 idea, I had been living it for a little while. And I came to him and I thought my brothers were going to be like, Dave, this is kind of nuts. Like, we don't want to put this all through the business because we're a partnership. I mean, even though I'm the older brother and I at the end of the day, I could force something. And that's not my profile. I don't want to be like that. I like to have everybody on board and have it is a family. But I spelt it out and I started explaining to them, starting with Monday, and explaining the B7 rhythm, that I wanted to try to adopt and put this culture into the company. And my brother was like, we'll see. And then it wasn't even like 2 weeks in, he calls me, my brother Will is like, Dave, this is nuts, bro. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, it's just like everyone is just taking, and it just started taking off. And we had everybody, calling on having these wonderful moments on Wednesday and Thursday. And it was incredible. It's been a great time.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited that you're putting it into a book, and I definitely want to talk about more about what each day of the week is and some of that on the episode today. When you think about the spaces for rapid entrepreneurial growth, it is interesting how there's the story that everybody wants. They want to hear that like, oh, AI is what, I mean, I think you guys are tracking for maybe 50 million this year, right?
Correct.
They want to hear that like in 5 years, what got you from 3 million to 50 million is what the news is talking about. They don't want to hear like door-to-door sales, Can you talk about like fundamentals done correctly and how you guys have embraced that? And
well, once we kind of organized our mission and our vision and like said, okay, we want to go there. And it really is as simple as taking the whiteboard and sitting down with key people in your organization and saying, okay, as whether you're the owner and you got your top 3 people, it's really getting into a room, locking the door, turning off your phones and saying to the whiteboard, okay, what is our why? Like, and it's really what is possible in this space? Like, what's possible? Not like, oh, I want to do this, and everyone's divided. And so when we sat down in a room and we said, what is possible? And then we go, okay, and in the why, it's like, okay, the H is how. Okay, now that we've got on this whiteboard and we dream, because so many of us from such a young age are told, don't do that, stop that. I mean, your average child by the age of 7 is from grabbing candy or walking into the street. You know, we as adults don't realize we're creating brain tracks in the human mind. And so you're told as a little kid, don't do that, stop that. So what I like to do is pull out of people's brains, and as owners and entrepreneurs and just kind of wacky people like we are, some like me, ADD, I'm dyslexic, I can't even spell. I ask my wife, like, I'll look at my son and name 3 of my brothers and 1 of my sisters and finally go, what is your name? He's like, it's me, Simeon, Dad. I was like, okay, you, come here. You know, and so I like to in the beginning, what we really did is just pull out of our souls really what is possible, and not have the limitations that are put on our minds by all the different ways that we've grown up, and really get onto the canvas and dream. And dreaming is so important in life. And we said, you know, is this possible? And I'm a strong believer in the Think and Grow Rich, you know, Napoleon Hill. And as at a young age, when I was 10 to 12 years old, I traveled the country with my dad and sat in a chair, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm just this little grum. I'm like, dude, why am I here? This sucks. I'm trying to get out and just get a donut in the back and get a, you know, try to sneak some Mountain Dew or some coffee. You know, I was a little rascal, you know, and I didn't know the whole time that in my brain track was being developed all these high level thinkers and high level humans. And so that's what it was, is it really starts in the beginning of really bringing your team together and saying each new January, really in this year's time, what is possible, and really dreaming big. And then kind of going back from there. It's like looking up at Everest. It's like you get guys, they see a picture of Everest, they're climbers, and they're like, they're not worried about all these little teeny details. They really get that dream, and it's like, okay, I'm going to climb that. And then it starts with the planning and the how, and you spell it out. But it's really just dreaming and putting it on paper, and then kind of getting to that point.
Yeah. You know, you think about, like, again, in your space, a traditional roofing company, hopefully they got their truck wrapped. Hopefully they have their truck wrapped and they've got the phone number on it. Maybe they stick the lawn sign out front or these kind of things. When did you realize, like, how effective door-to-door was going to be for this space?
Well, I was always traditionally, like, even when I had my masonry business, I did masonry and roofing. I was a GC. I was always door to door. Like, I would drive around my truck and knock doors myself. I just knew no other way to grow my business. And then when we got hit with that hailstorm in Hawaii in 2012 is when it was like, oh, that's what Grandpa used to say. Because my grandpa used to say, it's not the man that can do the work of 10 men. It's the man that can get 10 men to work. And so I just saw the law of large numbers. I was like, wow, this is powerful. Because I traditionally out in Hawaii, like, we had the Vivint and the these and the that's come. But my real motivation was like, how do I knew door to door was incredible because I saw the numbers, and it's just simple if you get all these guys to work. But I wanted to, what we wanted to do at FBC, what our goal was to, like, get guys that can live in an area, like, feed a family, have a wonderful life, and not have to travel. So I've dealt with a lot of youth growing up on another side as a counselor to a bunch of youth. And I got a bunch of these door-to-door guys, and their stories were terrible. Like, I got addicted to Adderall, and my wife, I'm getting divorced, like, all crazy stuff. And so there's a stigma to door-to-door. I mean, there's a dark side to it. And I was like, being in the roofing space, I was like, I could create these offices. I could create areas where we could still have that really good, intelligent door-to-door, business to consumer model, but not be shipping our guys across planet Earth and being away from their families, and being in an area and building a brand that's strong and powerful and not based on a fleeting 3-month crack, frenzy that some, and not all, but, kind of clean up the D2D space a little bit, so to speak. And we've accomplished it, and it's incredible. We have, you work here, live here, stay here, love here, and be with your kids, and it's just awesome. We've really, really enjoyed it.
Well, it's interesting because from a logic standpoint, it's like, well, email's so cheap and fast, or you think about like what everybody else does, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to find, somebody who has the guts to go do door-to-door sales. It's, it's not the easiest form. There's not 100 YouTube videos of like the fast, easy way to money. Recruit, train, continually motivate, and help out a full force of door-to-door sales reps. Like this is not the easy hack that you're being promoted for 3 easy installments of $19.99, right?
No, I mean, I love knocking doors. And some people say, Dave, you're a nut. And I am a nut. Like the last time I went up to, we were up in northern Utah, and my wife was out with us, and we went from dark to dark, and my wife was rolling her eyes, but it was incredible. And for roofing, it was amazing. We had a great day. I think we got around 5 contracts in one day, which is a good day for our industry. But I often think, me not having my degree, like I went to 4 different high schools, dropped out. I moved to Hawaii when I was 17, and I went to Kahuku High School, and I was looking around. And
I know you've been there like 27 years. Has it always been on North Shore?
Yeah. So always been on North Shore, but I grew up in Haula, and then I moved to Laie, and I was always like bussing it and thumbing it to North Shore to surf because I just addicted to the waves, and I love I just love being at the beach. I love surfing. My kids have grown up. My dad was a surfer from Long Beach. And then my parents, I was back visiting when I was 22, and my parents were going through a divorce, and I was the oldest that wasn't married, and my mom had 8 kids at home. And my brother Joey was looking at me, and I said, who's going to help mom? And he looked at me and he's like, dude, you got it, bro. It's like, you're the oldest that's not married. So I was the oldest son that wasn't married. And off of a long past of like, a little bit of a backdrop. I moved from Southern California to Provo, Utah when I was like 12 years old. So here I was about to go into junior high, and I was just this surfer beach rat kid who probably swore a little bit too much. And going into this strong Christian culture, I was like not allowed at anybody's house. I was a rugged little thug. So I got in a bunch of trouble. My best friend ended up being this Tongan kid, and he was from Hawaii. He just came from Tonga, was born in Hawaii by way of Tonga. So he was born in Hawaii, went to Tonga, went to LA, and met me, and we met in junior high. Got into a bunch of trouble, and I went to, I was in youth corrections for 4.5 years. So from age like 13 to 18, I basically, my parole officer let me move to Hawaii. He's the one that let me go live with my Tongan family. They're my Tongan family, the Mataile family. But yeah, I mean, as a young boy, I had like over 70 charges, just dumb stuff like staying up late and smoking cigarettes and blah, 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 just dumb stuff. It wasn't too heavy, but it was enough for them I went to Red Cliffs Ascent, which is a youth camp. There's a special on Netflix about it. It's the wilderness survival camp. Went there. I went to ONA. That's observation assessment. And then I went to Youth Quest, and then I was in a group home. So from basically, I remember the day the judge, my mom's in tears. She's just weeping. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Mom. And the judge is like, Judge Lindsay's like, you are now a warden of the state of Utah. And slapped the hammer down. And I looked at my mom, and she was just like weeping because she had 13 kids. And here I am, like 13 and a half, almost 14 years old. And the state just basically said, you can't control them, we will. And I was off in handcuffs, went to a group home, and I didn't see my mom for 8 months. And so, but that's kind of how I made it all the way out to Hawaii, kind of going through that. And then I moved to Hawaii, cleaned up, got my act together, then really understood responsibility when I was helping my mom raise all these kids.
So you came back at 22.
Yeah, helped my mom for 3 years.
For 3 years, 22
met my
to
wife.
25.
Yeah, and through that time, I met my wife, got married, and at age 25, I was married, and I bought a house in Hawaii, and I started a great masonry business, was doing all types of construction, and moved to Hawaii when the market crashed, and it was like, you got to go direct. Like direct sales. Like when we got hit with that hail and I saw people knocking doors, I was like, you bring up, it's not everyone likes knocking doors. The first thing I told my son when he graduated high school, I'm like, dude, go knock doors. Because, bringing up the education where I stopped, started this conversation is like, I got my GED. I walked into Kahuku High School and I was like, dude, no way. I can't do high school number 5. I'm going to get kicked out of this place. I can't even, like, I was always that kid in the corner getting in trouble with the teacher. And so I was like, I called up my parents. I said, what can I do? They said, I didn't even know what a GED was. Like, I couldn't, it's like, okay, I'm going to get my GED. So I got my GED and I just started grinding, started working, thatching roofs at the Polynesian Cultural Center and doing my thing. And then when I came out to help my mom, I was in the trades and got my contractor's license. But telling my son, there is no better way to, like, I bring up education, to truly be educated in the art of communication than to get doors slammed in your face. Like, my son, it was like 2 things I told my son. I was like, you can go on a mission because you're going to get, selling salvation. You want to sell a roof? Okay. I can sell a roof. You guys try to go sell salvation. You talk about doors getting slammed in your face. It's like, you could sell all year long and have one sale, right? Maybe not even one sale. So I said, there was 2 things I told him he could do. I said, you could move to Utah and go knock doors. You can go to Honolulu and knock doors. You can go off to college if you want, if that's what you want to do. Or, you can go sell salvation, whatever it is. But he ended up doing both. But there's nothing I would ever advise. Like,
where is he?
Right now he's in Arizona, the Arizona Tempe mission. So he's been out there a few weeks.
Church of Jesus Christ
of Latter-day Saints. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It came natural to me. I'm a human lover. I love the human experience, really into it. That's how I created B7. And what better way than to talk to thousands of people? We're coming up on 10,000 roofs that we've completed. And when you have that many customers, you see the flavors of all kind. I've been in so many different situations. So,
well, I want to talk about B7 because you think about, like, your non-traditional resume for building a company that'll do $50 million this year, right? And this idea of, like, for a lot of people, I don't have, out of 1,000 episodes of my podcast, I don't think there's any CEO that would say, oh, we don't have a good culture. Everybody thinks they have a good culture, right? Everybody emphasizes the culture. And, 100%. By definition, half of them are below average, right?
Right.
So for so many folks, it's like, culture is like, it's the poster on the wall. It's the occasional meeting. It's what they talk a lot about at the executive team. But then, like, by the time you get down to the front lines, like, nobody can recite it. It's almost like culture theater. Like, oh yeah, this is the part where we're supposed to pretend that we all know what the culture is and the company mission statement and what, but they don't really, right?
Right.
Where, again, you think about, like, I worked construction. It was the only way I had enough money to snowboard all year long as a teenager was to work jobs that paid twice as good in the summer. I'd go work construction jobs. I'd have enough money 100%. To snowboard all winter.
Yeah.
Right? And back in Western Canada. And here's a bunch of rough dudes. After high school, before going to college, I went and worked on the oil and gas pipeline. Those are even rougher dudes, right?
100%.
And so you think about, like, folks who are not known for, like, you use the word love a lot, like a lot. Okay. Tough construction crews that's not typically a super common word all over. But I can see that, like, you live it hard enough that they're not rolling their eyes. And then it starts to be like, no, that's how it is around here. So give us the rundown. By the way, when are you hoping the book comes out?
I would say it would be out by January is the goal, to, like, have it all hardbacked, ready to rock, and being delivered to people's doorsteps. So
will you walk us through what each of the days of the week are in the B7?
Okay, I will, and I'll answer the whole love thing. I do love the human experience, but there's the B it's obviously Fullmer Brothers, but it's really the B is becoming. And one of my favorite things is it's not what I'm making, it's what I'm becoming. And that's a real easy statement. And that comes down to, as a leader, are you someone, I used to joke with my guys because whenever a new foreman came on, they rolled their eyes about Dave and his truck and what I was capable of. And so I would always keep my tool bags in my truck underneath my seat in my Ford. I'd keep my bag, my tape measure, everything that I had. And if I ever had an opportunity, I would out of nowhere jump up and totally manhandle a 4x18-inch beam, cut it, Z cut it, mold it together, build it out, whether it's framing, roofing, concrete, whatever it was. I was always willing, and lived by, that I would never ask someone to do something I wasn't capable of doing myself, or at least trying. And people can feel that. There's a lot of leaders out there that say that, but do they actually find time? That when I seek opportunities to really take off the owner or leader hat and just sit side by side my guys and do work with them. Like anytime I go knock doors with them, if I get a deal, I usually always get a deal a day from a phone call. I mean, it's almost a deal every 1 to 3 days. And whoever I'm with at that moment, I give them that deal and I don't tax it in any way. And so that's always been a culture of ours that my brothers adopted. So it's really that love comes down to being willing to never ask somebody to do something you're not willing to try yourself, or that you're not willing to do yourself. Start there. So now, the B7, how did I come up with it? Is it you're asking?
No, let's go through what they are. Go through the days of the week.
Okay. Monday is Motivation Monday. Okay. And the reason is we have motivation on Monday is more people have heart attacks from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Monday morning. I mean, ironic, what a day to get motivated. And Monday was always the hardest day for me, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, what is this thing going on? And so I was like, dude, that's it. I got to figure out, I've got to rewind and relook at my goals and what I'm focused on becoming every Monday. And when I do that, I'm starting my week off like, wow, what's possible? So my Monday day is like, what's possible? But you can't be motivated every day, or you're literally, as Jim Rome says, you're a motivated idiot. I mean, how many people go to these gurus, they're in the constantly guru mode, and then they get nothing done. And so I was like, it can only be one day a week. It's got to be one good staple, and there's little things that motivate you along the way, but there needs to be one day that you really are just like, okay, this is my charge for the week. And so that was Monday. So that's Monday. Tuesday's tracking Tuesday, and tracking Tuesday is like, if you don't keep score, you can't win the game. And keeping score in the game of life is everything from your finances. I like to say, being the avatar. You're the writer, the director, and the actor of your own movie. And imagination and dreaming is so part of the key to the human experience to becoming successful. Like, hey, yeah, you're dreaming. What are you talking about? Yeah, okay, big dreamer. But I can tell you how important it is to dream and to make sure you're watching your thoughts. Okay, sow a thought, reap an act. Sow an act, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. You cannot act out anything beyond your own belief. So tracking is, I'm really tracking my thoughts and who I am as a person and how I'm showing up to others, how I'm showing up to my real things in my life. And I mean, I could go deeper into it, but that's Tuesday. And then Wednesday is a really important day. It's like the balance day. I always say it's like balance. When you're wheeling a motorcycle, my kids, we love to dirt bike, and we love wheeling little pit bikes around the neighborhood and stuff. It's always been a great activity for me and my boys and my brothers and stuff. And so it's that balance point in life. It's that halfway in between the week. Wednesday is an inspiration day. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get into the zone. I love Wednesday. So I kind of put my phone, all social media, everything off to the side. I don't plan any meetings. Like, I've ended up in the mainland from Hawaii. I'm like, dude, the whisper's telling me to go to the mainland. And I'm gone. Boom. I'm in the mainland. Or I'm in Maui. Or I'm at the office. Or I'm at my friend's house. Or I'm calling my brother.
So just to clarify that, Whisper Wednesday is like slowing down, disconnecting a little bit, and trying to listen to what's deep down inside.
Yeah, and you're listening to the whisper. I used to call it Whisper in the Wind Wednesday, but now it's just Whisper Wednesday. And it's really like, if you were to go talk to a bunch of ER doctors, and you'd say, hey, have you ever had a patient come in and you looked right at them and you knew something was up and you didn't know how? And then you said, get that person over and give them an x-ray, or whatever, right? They could tell you countless stories. We all have the stories of intuition. It's in athletes. It's in every walk of life. But do we ever slow down enough? And like, I do an 8-mile meditation march on Wednesday morning, every Wednesday. And I'm gone. You can listen to music, but it's all organized, real, like almost like Enya or slowed down symphony, something that has that real tune of meditation or meditation music. And so on this meditation march on Wednesday, I'm listening what the universe is trying to say to me, whether it's inspiration about my business, my personal life, my loved ones, whatever it might be. But in a world that we're downloading hundreds of thousands of more data points into our brain than our progenitors, like people that came before us. Like right now, you're having over 100,000 thoughts a day. So how do you slow down and get creative? Because out of the 100,000 thoughts, 80% are negative and 90 are the same you had the day before, the day before, the day before, the day before. So you're on this hamster wheel. So Wednesday's a day where I can really listen to what's going on around me that I can't see. And we live in a society where it's like, you get what you see. Like everything's like, seeing is believing. And I don't roll that way. It's like Wayne Dyer's book. I think it was Wayne Dyer that wrote a book, is Believing is Seeing. And at any rate, so that's Wednesday. It's a real intuition day. And then I allow myself, like, going home to listen, like on my way home that day, and I can listen to other music or whatnot. And it's really just such a creative day. And it's a day it's funny. Wednesday, when you live this, you end up in crazy places. You end up calling friends you didn't know you were supposed to call, and they're like, dude, I was just thinking of you. So it's like really, really cool. And then Thursday, coming off of a kind of an inspo day, then you get into Thursday, and Thursday's Thankful Thursdays. What day is Thanksgiving? The key in gratitude. Gratitude is linked to attitude. Les Brown said it best when he talked about the eagle and the lion, and how leadership attitude is the key in leadership. And so the right attitude is an attitude of gratitude, because in a state of gratitude, anything can be overcome. When you're in a state of euphoric, high dopamine, that's good dopamine. I mean, we can get the scrolling dopamine, or we can get actual, like, wow dopamine when I'm thinking of the amazing things that I'm grateful for. It gets me super high, and it's just like, things can always be worse, right? And so when you really are counting your blessings and in a huge state of high natural dopamine of gratitude,
and you schedule like a certain time of day for this? Like, what does that actually look like tactically?
So Thursday morning, what I do is I have like 4 things I'm really grateful for. I think of, so in that day, everyone throughout the day, I thank everyone I come in contact with.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Like I saw a couple of Thankful Thursday. I'm walking through Home Depot, and it's like that day I hadn't hit everybody yet. Like I have to do like 6 people. I think, hey, thank you. I make sure I say thank you to everyone, but I want to hit 4 people personally that I don't know and thank them for something. So I'm like searching for something to be thankful for with someone. And I saw this old couple, and they were holding hands, and they were just the cutest. They were like in their 80s or something, and she was kind of rousing the guy, right? And I was like, I want to rescue this dude right now with a little bit of love. So I pulled up to him, and I go to him. I said, I'm so sorry, excuse me, but I saw you guys talking, and I could see they were kind of in a little bit of an argument, but really minor. And they're like, oh yes. And I said, I just noticed you from down the aisle, and I just want you guys to know that it is my dream. I'm married. I have 3 kids. And I told them, I said, it's my dream. I want to thank you for your love for each other, because I can see it. And I said, I want to thank you, and I hope one day because it's my dream that one day I'll be 80 years old walking down a Home Depot aisle like you guys, arguing about what finishes to put on or whatever you guys are talking about, you know? And I got done saying it, and I was talking to the guy. I looked at the girl. I looked back at the girl, and she's just, tears are streaming down her face. And it was that moment of gratitude that I was able to, just a simple thing, I was looking for it. And sometimes you don't find what you're not looking for. And it's easy to say, oh, Thankful Thursday, this, but it's like by your 3rd Thursday, you're impressed upon, I can't forget this. And it's incredible. So the good thing about B7, and I'll just say this right now, is there's 2 really main components of B7. There's so many gurus, there's so many lessons. Like Stephen Covey, I can't tell you all the 7 habits of highly effective people, but I can tell you I was there with my dad as he was teaching it. I know some of them. I know the paradigm shift, right? That's huge. The emotional bank account, which I call the bank of the universe. But one thing is that we as humans have lived Monday through Sunday for thousands of years. So I don't have to tell you what Monday is. That's one major component. Every human being has a deep-rooted brain track of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Monday, Tuesday. They're already on the rhythm, but they're out of rhythm. They're out of sync. And so what's the second main component is B7 is, so once you know your theme is motivate, you get the things that motivate you. I'm not going to tell you. It molds to what the type of archetype that you are and what your love language is. So I'm not going to give you 87 steps, but in my book, I spell out how important the AM PM game is. Everyone's been to an AM PM gas station in Cali. They're open on 24 hours. So if you think problems stop or interest stops or problems stop just because you're asleep, you're wrong. Or you think it's bedtime, you're wrong. It's an AM PM game. And so I go over the importance of planning your night for the next day and the importance of getting up early and attacking the day early. And so that's the two real main killer components with B7 is it's so moldable to your lifestyle that you'll never forget it. I mean, I got girls at the coffee gallery. I got girls at the bank. I walk into the bank and the girl's like, it's Thankful Thursdays. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? There's days I walk in there and I was like, yeah, or they'll say, oh, what day is it? Or I always say, wait, what day is it? And it's Friday. And you can see the
Can't watch Friday.
Yeah. So moving on to Friday, coming off high dopamine, super high gratitude. And we go into Friday and it's Forgiveness Friday. It's the day as little kids, remember you used to get $1? You go at elementary school and after you get all stoked. I mean, what is Friday to the human experience? I guess us. Dude, it's the weekend. We're pumped. We're going to go for the weekend and there's no work and tomorrow's Saturday. And so there's another high dopamine hit and that takes us in to the hardest human emotion to master. And that's forgiveness. Nelson Mandela said it the best. He said, wishing bad against your enemy is like drinking poison and hoping it kills them. It just doesn't work. It's so unique.
This week, I just watched that movie Invictus.
Okay.
The Nelson Mandela movie with Matt Damon about the Springboks with my two boys who hadn't seen it.
Okay.
And it was like such a good reminder of like you said, there's so many theories, there's so many gurus, there's so many you shoulds. And then there's those people that like, live it so hard that you want to live it, and just like that movie is just so full of so many true stories from Nelson Mandela's life. I was like, tearing up, like trying to let have my teenage boys see me tearing up. It's awesome. It's so awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the emotion of forgiveness, it's like when my family broke apart, my dad, like I literally like, had I not come back to my faith that I was raised as a kid, like, I don't know if I would have been able to emotionally hang with it. And it's a process. It's not every Friday. Like it's not like the first Friday or every Friday you're just going to be over something. But as you slowly focus on forgiveness, because is there a day during the week? What better day than a day that we're super high and excited about life to kind of level us out and say, wait a minute, maybe I can forgive. And it's a slow journey, and everyone's journey is different. But forgiveness is absolutely, and so much do we think that if we forgive someone, they're getting off, or that you're getting, if I let this go, they're getting away with this. If I call someone and tell them I love them, even though they've hurt me, then it's like they're getting away with it, and it's not. It's like to be a real eagle, to really soar and fly with other eagles and individuals that have been high-level humans that have walked this earth, like the best, religious, I would say, figure in history, which was our Savior, Jesus Christ. He said it simple: do good to those that despitefully use you. And it's like those times in my life when I've really just said, you know what? I love you. And I'm over it. And it took a lot of years and a lot of soul searching to realize how powerful forgiveness is.
Yeah, I think about that one, and like, I think about one person that I had to like forgive and then re-forgive and then re-forgive and re-forgive because my old feelings would come back.
So Fridays,
it took like multiple years to like really get it where somebody could say his name and I didn't have all these bad feelings automatically come back, Or I think about like a different partner, one of our investment funds. We'd had so much friction and there were some things messed up and we, had to exit him out of the ownership, and anyways, something happened. He kind of milked us for about $750,000. And that might have been like 750 million in my mind. Like, I just felt so upset. I remember I had this CEO coach and they were trying to like help me through it. And I was like describing it as like, I felt like I had my leg amputated the way this guy, like this guy, how this guy had harmed me, or, and honestly, it was more about the social stuff than the money. It's more about the relationship and these things. And I remember saying out loud, because they were just harassing me basically of like, why can't I forgive and this kind of stuff. And I said, I know I should forgive. I just don't want to. And it was just like, I felt so convicted to say that on my outside voice. And I thought about like, I remember this talk where they were talking about this Amish community who a man had come to the Amish kids' school and shot a bunch of kids. And then I think committed suicide.
James E. Faust, 1997, maybe. I can't remember what talk it was.
Okay.
One of my favorite.
So
it was the milkman.
Oh, it was?
Yep.
Okay. So you know the story, but this idea that like immediately afterwards, the Amish people went to the shooter's family to say, we forgive, we don't hold a grudge. I was just like, that was like so incredibly inspiring to me. And I remember at the time hearing that talk thinking like, I want to be that kind of person. Like I want, like, that's what I aspire to. I want to be able to do that. Right. And so like years later on my outside voice over, being slighted and some money and like saying I wasn't going to forgive and thinking like, okay, I want to be forgiven for so many stupid things I've done, but now I'm not going to forgive. It was like this like deeply convicting thing to like, it was almost an out of body experience to hear myself say, I know I should, but I'm not going to. And it was like this turning point for me, Yeah,
like, 100%. And in the stories that have come in our business, like we had someone in our company that couldn't forgive their uncle for something that happened in the past. I can't remember. I don't know what it was, but it's like we turned the corner one day, we're walking and we're pulled aside, and here I have this grown man in tears come give me a hug and say, hey, thank you for helping. And it took like 13 Fridays to really have him dig deep. And ever since then, it's like, as we slowly start to forgive everyone around us, what happens is we really come to ourselves. And one of the hardest things, the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. And too many times we look at God as this big, giant, magical, mean person in the sky. Sorry.
Now you're making me cry.
And he's not. And it seems like on these Fridays when we start learning to forgive other people, ultimately, we start to forgive ourselves. And that's when we really start to believe in our dreams and believe in ourselves and think we can do it. We can do that. And forgiveness becomes part of our rhythm. It becomes part of our life. And it's not going to happen overnight. But what a grateful, remindable day this Friday.
Especially going back to your Nelson Mandela and the, drinking poison, expecting the other person to get sick, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting is like, I decided I need to write this guy a letter. And I was like super out of tune with him, even though I was like decided to forgive him, right? And so I wrote this letter and I just decided to start with like, just write this letter about like owning all the ways I'd made his life worse. And I did that and I brought up some other things that I thought should be addressed. And then I thought like, I've been so out of tune with this guy. I probably shouldn't trust my own gut about like, will this help him to send it to him? It would help me to write it, but when it's going to help him to send it to him, right? And so I found somebody who was in tune with me and in tune with him, who wasn't
right, kind of a really good mediator.
And I said, hey, will you read this? And will you tell me if you think it would be helpful to send to him? And I've done that a couple of times in my life. And one time they said, well, this and this had some bite to it. So like, I don't know if you want to put dog poo in the chocolate milk you're offering him. You might want to pull that part out. Right? And then a different time somebody said, like, I get where you're coming from. I can see why you wrote this. And where they're at in their life, I don't think this will help them right now. I don't think you should send it. So I didn't send it, in a different letter. The freeing experience, the feeling like I got like 50,000 pounds out of my backpack, and just like me being able to, the biggest gift was to me.
100%. And
it's like very selfish.
I'm trying to build you. It's like, dude, the real blessing, it's like you are like, it's all on you. It's really coming to me. I have a family member that I've texted probably, I think I do it quarterly. I'm sorry, forgive me. I don't even know what I did. But some people struggle with mental illness. Some people are hurting in such a depth of hurt and do things that they don't realize how they're affecting, like the ripple effect that one human being can have, whether positive or negative, is so huge. And so we get wrapped around all this stuff that other people do around us. And it's just like, it's crazy. I have an experience with another roofing contractor. Like, we're a roofing contractor. So like 5 years ago, I go into a supply house. They're like, oh, what did you do to so-and-so, the supply house? I'm like, I don't know. What did he say? And they said, it's another roofing contractor out of Kailua. He's like, oh, dude, he said he's going to smash you, bro. Like, I was like, what? He's like, they're like, yeah. I was like, whoa. Like, what did I do? I was like, I don't know, man. But he's telling everybody you're a dog and you're a piece of crap. Like, unethical and dishonest, like just defaming my name. Like, I was like, whoa, how's this guy? And then this supply house, and I'm getting calls from other people. And so I was just like, I had all this anger. Like, dude, when I see this guy, he's going to get it. Like, I'm going to be like, hey, why are you talking about my brand and my, what's up? And at any rate, Forgiveness Friday came around, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call him and tell him I want to take him out to lunch. I'm just going to love him. So I call him up, and I was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, yeah, what's up? And I was like, this is Dave Fullmer, FBC Roofing. And it was just crickets. He knew I knew he knew. And I said, hey, man, sorry to just call you, but I don't know if there's been some confusion. But I want to call you and say I'm sorry. I don't know what I did to you, but I'm sorry. And I don't know if I can buy you dinner or maybe buy you a beer, whatever, just whatever you want, to do. And he's like, yeah, I like to drink, because I knew he's a big drinker guy, and he hangs out at this like pub / place. Like, everyone knew it out in Kailua. And I said, hey, I'll meet you out there. I'll buy you a beer. We could talk story. So I go out there, and he's like, okay, yeah. You okay? Yeah, you come buy me lunch, right? So he's still being rough. And I go out there and I buy him lunch, and about 2 beers deep, he opens up and he's like, and he starts getting emotional. He's like, I've had to shut my business down because I had someone fall off the roof. And my top salesman's working at FBC. And I had no clue. All I had was a call from a guy that we hired, that one of my managers hired. And he's over, and he just called us up and said, hey, I don't want to work for this other roofing company I've been working for. There was no poaching. There was no soliciting. He just came over. So I showed him my text messages, and I showed him. And he just broke down, and he's like, I'm sorry, I accused you. I thought for sure you were trying to poach my guys. And I said, no, I didn't know. I didn't know what you were going through. And I said, do you want to come sell for me? So he was in a situation where his workers' comp, he couldn't get workers' comp. So he had some situation in his company. So who this guy I thought was my enemy, he ended up selling $2 million in business for me for over the next 2 years.
Wow.
So, and he's a great friend of mine now. So here, I thought in my mind that this was a human being that wanted to hurt me. He was talking trash about my family name. And within one phone call, one lunch, I had gained a friend, a fellow roofing brother, and he sold roofs for my company and still throws me jobs here and there. And so it's like, what's real? What's the real reality? And I think love is what's real. And it's the sad part is there's prison systems that are full of these wonderful human beings where in a moment of passion, they thought something that wasn't real was real, and they made a rash decision, and now they've impacted. And so What Forgiveness Friday does is it doesn't not only help us forgive the past, but it helps us prepare for the future and live so present, free of malice and doubt and fear. So that's Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Wrap
it.
it in there.
Just as you said that was like the best story I've ever heard of this principle from Abraham Lincoln, where he said, do I not conquer my enemies when I make them my friends?
100%, dude. I mean, mic drop.
No, we have Saturday and Sunday. What's Saturday?
Just close right there. Forgiveness Friday. Tear it up. Classic. So Saturday's really, really simple, and it's for your loved ones and family to make memories and remember that life is short. So it's Satisfaction Saturday. I make it a point every week to make sure that I'm taking a day of that week, which is usually on Saturday, to take my boys motocross riding or hiking or hunting or fishing, or, case of us growing up on the north. My kids grew up on the North Shore, and up there we do a lot of fishing, a lot of wild boar hunting, a lot of motocross, trail riding, hiking, and of course surfing and skateboarding. So
don't forget jujitsu.
Yeah, and then jujitsu. Well, my oldest son now actually likes to go jujitsu, Simeon, even though he's on his mish. But my youngest son now is committed, wants to. But yeah, that was part of the family rules, is you had to go to jujitsu. So all my kids have been into jujitsu for over a decade, and it was one of the greatest things I ever did. But yeah, that's Satisfaction Saturdays, is really to make sure you're having fun with your loved ones. Yep.
Yeah.
Sunday, going back to jujitsu, one of the most humbling experiences is having to submit to someone else. I can tell you right now, when you're in a good squabble with someone and your arm feels like it's about to snap, or you're passing out because of lack of air, and you tap out, it's humbling.
I don't know if I told you, I did competitive judo all my teenage years.
Yeah, you were saying something about that, I think, when we had dinner that one night. But yeah, I mean, you tap out, and what it is it's
literally called a submission, right?
You're submitting to a higher power. So Supplication Sunday is you're supplicating. It's a form of submission. It's a form of saying, there is a greater power in this universe than I. I'm going to take everything, put it all aside, and focus on that for one full day. And so that's my day of rest. It's my day where I sleep and keep a calm mind, and I do my worship on Sunday, and it's supplicating. I'm supplicating to a higher power. In my case, I'm Christian, so I supplicate and I make covenants, and I remember my covenants every Sunday with my Savior, Jesus Christ, my King. And I remember that one more week, I want to try to follow him, and that's the day Sunday that I do that.
Yeah. So I want to go back to anybody can make up a system. Anybody can teach a quick seminar and tell their staff to do it. And you put a poster on the wall. The real magic is living it hard enough that other people want to. Building in enough meaningful repetitions across the organization that, when the organization starts going from a handful of people to dozens of people to dozens of people to, you start up with large organization with you guys, multiple cities, multiple states, stuff like this. What's an example? Some CEO listening today. What's an example of just a small thing, a tangible thing to help this not just be a nice talk, but to have this be like something people are living, and the reminder to keep living it, and having it be more than the poster on the wall?
Well, I mean, the thing with B7 is once you live it, it's really hard to forget it. Like, I've never really had anyone. I see people that don't work with us anymore, and I'll get little texts, or they'll see me, be like, "Hey, what's up? Whisper Wednesday," and it really sticks to you. But in general, any company culture, if you're a CEO, you have to be bought in yourself, and you have to be a storyteller. You have to tell stories, and you have to listen for stories. And to do that, you have to know your people, and who are the key people in your organization that mean a lot to the organization, and you have to get to know them, and you have to find out what their story is. You can't lead from afar. There's like, our logo is kind of like a diamond, and you look at a pyramid, and a lot of times CEOs just want to delegate from the top and say, okay, I have great people. But so much of us as human, and during our experience in mortality, do we run on this, our gas is emotion. I move. You think of emotion. If you get rid of the E and put an I move with emotion. My AM PM game, my PM's like, okay, this is what I got to do. My AM game is like, okay, this is what I got to do. Why? Because if my son says the waves are good in Bali and I want to go to Bali for a month, we just spent a month in Bali, I've got to work hard enough. I got to generate enough income to travel the world with my kids and have a lifestyle. You know, I say it's love you money, not F you money. Like if you go talk to my buddies, like, dude, that guy's got F you money. And my phrase is it's called love you money. I don't want more money so I can have money. I want more money so I can have more emotion, more experiences. Right? It's just killer. So as a CEO, like this emotion, you have to know the emotion of your staff. I have to know that these principles and these guidelines and these little platitudes that are on the wall, I talk about them, I live them, I get the stories of my people and I remind them, and I get in and let people know on an intimate level that you care about them, and you have to care about them. You truly should care about your people and get to know them and know what are their pain points, what is this, and how can you counsel with them. And truly getting to know them is what FBC, when you say you're a family, who do you know in your family? Are you really willing to do the things that it takes to show these people that you really care about them and that you want to move with them? But also you don't put up with mediocrity. Because it's not like it's all sunshine, fluffy rubber bunnies and flowers over here. Like we talk a lot about love, but there's some times that there's had some heavy conversations and some negative attitudes had to get tapped out. And that's just, that's life of a CEO. You got to make hard decisions, but.
So, and does this does it come up in trainings? Do you have people bring it up in weekly meetings? Like, how does this show up across the organization when Dave's not personally there?
Well, I have my brother William, which is huge because he's an organizational just phenom and an administrator out of the Air Force. I luckily recruited him out of there. He'd been in there 8 years and got a business degree, and he's awesome in administration. That's what he was taught in the Air Force. But we have every day, it's an email and stories that go on text threads. So when it's Motivation Monday, there's a few stories that are reached out. Us as leaders send text messages to key people personally and also to different chats inside the company, right? I recognize if you saw my text messages, my wife's like, I have to go ahead. It's a lot, but you're managing a lot of people. You've got over 150 employees. It's not like, and it's all the time. I'll see a message and there's 6 more guys I've never met, but they've heard story, they heard who I am, and I love to reach out. Hey man, good job, and congratulate them and talk to them. But definitely with our emails and in the conversation of the day, we've kind of catered the job that we have as a roofing company around. So certain meetings, every roofing company is going to have production meeting, operations, finance, motivation for sales guide. Like you're not getting away from that as a CEO. Like you've got your meetings. What's cool about B7 is you mold it inside of that, right? Because you already have your weekly meetings. Like who's going to change their production meeting to a different day every week? Well, I'm sorry, but bad idea, right? Let's have it the same day. Finance, let's have it the same day. And then you have it on these days like Tracking Tuesday is a good finance day, and like good sales. What's better than Motivation Monday? And then we have Aloha Fridays because we have an Aloha theme. Our company, we're founded on the beautiful island of Oahu, in the most beautiful place on the planet Earth, which is the Sandwich Islands, Hawaii. But so we cater these different days to that, and it allows them to get this rhythm and this cadence. And I mean, B7 has just changed this roofing business like light years ahead of its time, and it's just so simple. It's just really cool.
It's funny. We've known each other for a little bit, but like this is actually going deeper for me than other conversations. And like, I see why you've had 10 private equity funds try to buy you last year. And, stuff is like, because I've worked in, like I said, worked in roofing, worked in construction, worked in oil and gas field. And like, this is not the feeling I got working in those, not just those companies, those entire industries, And so no wonder you set aside, no wonder you attract talent, and no wonder it leaks out to your customers.
Yeah. And back to our guys, like the roof, the end installer is really the one that's been mistreated for so many years. Like we have so many different ethnic backgrounds that work with us, like especially in Hawaii, and it's almost like the guys at the end, like a lot of fluff goes into sales and office, and then the end user, the installer, and we've created a rhythm and a battle rhythm for them that they know how they excel in the company. And then on our job sites, our GCs know what the capabilities based on this system that we created, that if you walked on my job site, you could point at someone and say, I know he should be nailing, or he's a tear-off guy, or everybody's capability, and everybody on the crew know their capability.
Is that the shirts thing that you're showing me?
Yeah, like their merits. And so we created a fun way to come into the company, and not just on the sales side, but on the installer side. And the attitude for the installers changes when the company knows, you know what? They know that every nail that's put in a roof and every shingle that's stripped off a roof, they genuinely care about and understand and value me as a person. And so we created a battle rhythm among our installers. And ultimately, the first customer is your people. If I can't walk in and look my people in the eyes and them genuinely know that I am just as stoked for their success as mine, then they're not going to work like it's theirs. And we want people to work for FBC that look at FBC as their real family, and that we believe in that. And my grandpa would always say, and my dad taught me, and my grandpa taught me when we were little. My dad always says it, but my grandpa used to say it. He says, he says, when you'll be successful? And he'd always ask us, how? And he would say, when you're just as happy about someone else's success as your own. And we have different talents. So it's not like I'm saying, everyone has to be the CEO of FBC. But if you're cleaning up the yard, I want that person to be the most successful person cleaning the yard and working up the ranks, eventually being a nailer and an installer, a captain, or whatever it might be. And it's the same in finance. It's the same in sales. So I want to really treat this person as myself, and I want them to be able to grow and just really excel. And
well, it's funny, like even your staff says this idea of the trying to be a personal development company, masquerading as a roofing company.
Yeah, human development company disguised as a roofing company.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. But your number one customer is your people. And when someone steps in a home, a family's home is their greatest asset. It's their greatest investment, the average family. So we teach that. And so when someone goes in their home, they take their shoes off, and I have them wear clean socks. Like, no one wants to see dirty socks. So it's like one of my things. It's like, if you're one of our color selection specialists and you're going to be in someone's home, you remove your shoes. Because in Hawaii, if you come in my house, it's like I have family that visit from the mainland, and I had some family members, and I had to tell them like 3 different times. I had to sit them at my dinner table, and I said, I need you to understand something. Like, I would rather you literally do this, this, and this. I love you to death, but it's like nails on the chalkboard. You have to remove your shoes.
It's like that in Canada.
You can't walk in a house with shoes on.
There's so much snow and mud and stuff.
Yeah, and it's a cultural thing, but they love it. Have clean socks, and when you're in someone's home, they feel that. They feel that love. If your number one customer is your employee, then your end customer that actually uses your service or whatever your company's doing, they're going to feel it.
Yeah.
They feel it. They feel that you love and you back this brand and you back this company. They're going to love it. They're going to love you, and they're going to trust your brand. And you've got to instill that. And that starts within. It starts within the walls of your own company.
Yeah. I know we got to wrap this up, but it does make me think of Richard Branson when he says, customers don't come first, employees come first. He says, if you treat your employees incredibly well, they'll treat your customers incredibly well, And he says, on training, he's like, train them so well that they could leave for anywhere. Train them so well they could get a job anywhere, and that'll be one of the reasons they stay with you.
Yeah, and one of my old sayings is, when they first come on board with us, I said, I cannot promise you that you'll always be with FBC, but I can promise you this: you'll be better because you came to FBC, right? Whether it's 1 day, 1 year, 10 years, my goal is to make your experience here, you walk back, shut the door, and say, you can honestly put your arm to the square and say, I am a better human because I was a part of FBC.
I love it.
So, yeah, thanks for coming over.
Give people the website.
So it's fbcroofing.com, and then Becoming 7 is the book, Becoming 7. And it's B7, but there's also a link on fbcroofing.com into the B7 book, and we'll be doing some other podcasts and stuff, but we're going to be getting email subscriptions or email for people to pre-order the book, and then I'll be sending that out, and I'll get that to you, and we get that all done. But
I love it.
Okay, buddy.
Congrats on all the success.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show, and thanks for coming out to our place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.